Hare Krishna, Puja Mataji, and all the assembled devotees. Then Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shamarasika Dividasi from Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Nikunj Rasadas from Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are so fortunate to have His Grace Sarvadrik Prabhuji from Mayapur, and today Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 6, Chapter 15, Verse 4, and Prabhuji will also speak on Damodar Lila. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please take over the call.
Thank you, Mataji. Good morning, all devotees. Hope everyone is well. Before starting, let us offer our obeisances to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada and all Vaishnavas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayesha Bhaddeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dharma Jnana Saha Kalo Nashtadeshamesha Purana Kodunodita Kantiraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Today we're reading Srimad Bhagvatam, chapter 6, Canto 6, chapter 15, text 4. Yata dhanashu vaidhana bhavanti na bhavanti cha evam bhutani bhuteshu choditani shamayaya. Yata, just as dhanasu, through seeds of paddy, vai, indeed, dhana, grains, bhavanti, are generated, na, not bhavanti, are generated, cha, also, evam, in this way, bhutani, the living entities, bhuteshu, and other living entities, choditani, impelled, isha, mayaya, by the potency or power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: when seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Sometimes the ground is not fertile, and the sowing of seeds is unproductive. Similarly, sometimes a prospective father, being impelled by the potency of the Supreme Lord, can beget a child, but sometimes conception does not take place. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. Report by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Chitraketu was actually not destined to get a son. Therefore, although he married hundreds and thousands of wives, all of them proved barren, and he could not beget even one child. When Angira Rishi came to see the king requested the great sage to enable him to have at least one son. Because of the blessing of Angira Rishi, a child was sent by the grace of Maya, but the child was not to live for long. Therefore, in the beginning, Angira Rishi told the king that he would beget a child who would cause jubilation and lamentation. King Chitraketu was not destined to get a child by providence or the will of the Supreme. Just as sterile grain cannot produce more grain, a sterile person, by the will of the Supreme Lord, cannot beget a child. Sometimes a child is born even to an impotent father and sterile mother, and some potent father and fertile mother are childless. Indeed, sometimes a child is born despite contraceptive methods, and therefore the parents kill the child in the womb. In the present age, killing children in the womb has become a common practice. Why? When contraceptive methods are taken, why don't they act? Why is a child sometimes produced such that the father and the mother have to kill it in the womb? We must conclude that our arrangement of so-called scientific knowledge cannot determine what will take place. What is enacted actually depends on the Supreme Will. It is by the Supreme Will that we are situated in certain conditions in terms of family, community, and personality. These are all arrangements of the Supreme Lord according to our desires under the spell of Maya, illusion. In devotional life, therefore, one should not desire anything, since everything depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavitam anukoyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. One should act only to develop Krishna consciousness. For everything else, one should depend fully on upon the Supreme Person. We should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Shishtam Manomapi Sachiputram Atra Sarupam Rupam Tasya Gajamurapuri Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Mahoradhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Nanta Advutashayam Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopi Yat Prasadat Sad Bhakti Shastra Pavartaka Nityananda Maham Nomi Sarvananda Karam Param Harinama Padam Devam Avaduta Shiromanim Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Taptakanshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindaye Tulsi Devaye Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Vancha Kopatubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. This is very instructive verse. Many important things are brought up here. And Srila Prabhupada's purport. If we remember in this story, Maharaj Chitraketu has hundreds, I think 10,000 wives, thousands of wives, immense power to produce children. But in spite of having immense power to produce children, he could not produce one single child. But by the grace of Angira Rishi, he received a blessing that you will have a son, and his name will be Harsha Shok. Harsha means he will create unlimited happiness, and Shoka, he will create unlimited distress. What happened was, by the grace of Angira Rishi, his wife became pregnant, and the other wives who also desired to have a son became completely overwhelmed with illusion and envy, and they conspired to poison the child. So when the child was born, the whole kingdom was rejoicing. The king has a son, the king has a son. Everyone's full of happiness, and the king's fondling the son, and he's giving so much attention to his wife that gave him a son. Everyone else the other wives couldn't bear the situation. And why not me? This is the nature of material world. It's saturated with envy. Prabhupada said, I am envious of you, you're envious of me. This is the nature of the material world. But this is not the nature of a devotee. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Bhagvatam and spiritual life is understood by persons who are nirmatsarata. Matsarata means a person who cannot bear the progress, the material progress or spiritual progress of another person. When someone gets a son or a daughter and they don't have one, then they burn in envy. If someone gets some position higher than oneself, they burn in envy. If someone gets recognition and you don't, then we burn in envy. If someone becomes materially prosperous, they become wealthy and we're not, then we burn in envy. Envy is ignorance, complete ignorance of the laws of God. Srila Prabhupada would explain that one cannot get more in life and one cannot get less, because Krishna is the supreme controller and he's karma phal datta. He's giving us the result of our previous life's activities. This is irrefutable truth, that you can't get more than you're destined to have. And we can't get less. If we have that, if we're fixed in that understanding, then envy will not touch us. We'll see that Krishna is behind everything. And when we experience envy, who are we actually envious of? We're envious of Krishna, because we're envious of Krishna's blessing in someone else's life. That Krishna has done that, Krishna has provided the facility for that person to progress materially or spiritually. So why should we be disturbed by Krishna's act, by Krishna's arrangement? Right? But that person deserves whatever they get. So why should we be envious? But still, envy is there. And this should be overcome. This should be kicked out, because envy is not it's a horrible feeling to feel envy for another Vaishnava, to feel envy for anyone, what to speak of a Vaishnava or Vaishnavi. So we should kick out envy by understanding that Krishna has provided for everyone according to their previous life's activities. Bhagavatam explains, Tasyaiva heto prayateto kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyada talabhyate dukkha vadanyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabira rangasa. Bhagavatam is instructing us, strive for that situation that is unavailable in the material world, that happy situation that isn't available from Satyalok down to Patalok, from topmost planet down to the lowest planet. What is that situation? Of Krishna consciousness. And as far as material happiness is concerned, that comes automatically, just as in due course of time we get distress. Nobody goes to the masjid, the mandir, the gurudwara, the church, the synagogue, and prays to God, give me trouble, let my business fail, let me be diagnosed with some horrible, incurable disease, let my family die, let me wreck my car, let my house burn down. No one makes such a prayer. No one prays to God for trouble. But honestly speaking, doesn't trouble come to everyone's life sometime or other, to some degree or another? Trouble comes to each and every one of us. So Bhagavatam is saying happiness and prosperity, recognition and position comes in exactly the same way. We want all the good stuff. Material prosperity, happiness, recognition, position, health, wealth, fame. We want all the so-called good stuff, but we strenuously try to avoid what we describe as the bad stuff: poverty, disease, infamy. This is the duality of material life. Krishna calls it dvandva mohena. Ichchadvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata. This is the bewildering characteristic of material life. We're bewildered by the so-called positive and so-called negative, when in actuality, the soul, the Atma, our self, is beyond all of that. It's happening to us externally. But we should have internal life, a relationship with Krishna inside that has nothing to do with our external material circumstances, either in prosperity and wealth or in poverty and disease. These are the dualities of material life. And we become mohena. We become bewildered by these things. Ichcha dveshas. Dvandva mohena. Dvandva means the dualities of life. Dvandva mohena. They bewilder us. So we have to become free from that if we expect to enter into Krishna consciousness. We have to become free, especially from envy. So the queens, seeing the king give special attention to his one wife that bore him a son, and seeing the darling child, the attractive baby, they conspired to kill him, and they gave the child poison. The next day, they woke up, and as the kingdom was full of joy, immediately upon seeing the death of the child, they became plunged into an ocean of lamentation and grief. This is the nature of the material world. Again, dvandva mohena bharata, the illusion of joy and grief. This is the nature of the material world. Spiritual world is not like that. It's kevala ananda kanda. It's an anandam buddhi vardhanam, an ever increasing ocean of spiritual happiness. It's not a world of duality. We have come to a world of duality where we suffer and enjoy, and we become bewildered by that. So the queens, they kill the baby, and everyone's completely disturbed, and Angira Rishi appears on the scene. And he asks the child, now come back. Why have you left? And then that you've given grief to your father. And the child, that Bhagavatam says, Sri Jiva Uchu, that the Jiva begins to speak. Like, which father are you talking about? All this wonderful transcendental knowledge comes out that we're going to read in due course. That which father I've had many fathers, I've had many mothers, I've had many lifetimes. And this is a meaning when the purport says here that one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. Artificial, why? Because the parent does not create a soul. By the combination of man and woman, that combination creates a circumstance that the soul may enter. It's likened here to a field and grains. The mother's body is like the field, the garden, and the father's body is the seed. The seed is injected into the field, and if the will of the Lord is there, as it says here, Isha Mayaya, by the potency or power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then there can be pregnancy and birth. If that's not there, if the will of the Lord isn't there, Prabhupada's pointing out in the purport very beautifully, even a potent man and fertile woman cannot bear children. And conversely, impotent man and sterile woman can bear children if it's the will of the Lord. Everything rests upon the will of the Lord. That people do not understand. So spiritual life means to surrender to the will of the Lord, not only when it comes to trying to conceive children, but every aspect of our life. We should act under the will of the Lord. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would always say, we're going to Calcutta tomorrow, Lord willing. We're going to build this temple, Lord willing. I'm going to initiate these disciples, Lord willing. Everything, Lord willing. Always conscious of the supreme overlordship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he called him, the transcendental autocrat. Autocrat means because nothing moves, not a blade of grass moves in the wind without the will of the Lord. So devotee is surrendered to the will of the Lord. And this is not such an easy thing. And the Bhagavad Gita tells us, Mamekam Sharanam, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja. Give up all dharmas, give up all your plans, give up all your plan making, give up all your conceptions of what is spiritual, and just surrender to me. This is not such an easy thing, to actually surrender to Krishna in every circumstance of life. I'll tell you a story about a very wonderful Vaishnavi. Their family stayed here in Mayapur with us, husband and wife, and two beautiful children, I think 5 and 7, or 6 and 9, 5 and 7, I think, young children. Sadhus, and we were going on parikrama, Ganga Snan, Mahaprasad, Kirtan, wonderful time in Mayapur. They left here, went back to America, and her husband had almost practically fatal stroke in the middle of his office. He almost left his body. And he is lying crippled, practically unconscious in a bed with little hope of ever regaining full facility of his senses and body. She has to take care of 2 children. She has a crippled husband. She has a mortgage to take care of. A person may ask, why has Krishna done this to me? Right? They may become an atheist. I've come to you, Krishna. I've come to serve you. I've come to become your devotee. Why have you done this to me? Someone may become an atheist, or they may become a pure devotee. Tattenu kampam susamiksham bunjana evatmakritam vipakam. That whatever comes to us, evatmakritam vipakam, we've created. We shouldn't never, whatever comes to us, we shouldn't blame Krishna. Why have you done this to me? Krishna hasn't done it. We've done to ourselves. We've created our own life by our previous lifetime's activities. This is the only logical explanation of why one person becomes Pratik Kohli, or what's his name? Is it Pratik Kohli or Pratik Kohli? No, that's a cricket star. Anyway, he's a big. Why is one person become a big athlete, and why is one person born crippled? Why is one a genius and one a fool? Why is someone a Mukesh Ambani and someone is a beggar on the street? Is it that God is just up there in Vaikuntha and he's arbitrarily picking names? There's a big bowl up there, and everyone's name is it, and he's reaching in the bowl and pulling out names. Oh, you're going to become Mukesh Ambani. Congratulations. Oh, sorry, you're going to become a beggar on the street. You're going to live a long life. You're going to have a short life. You're going to become diseased. You'll be healthy. Is God picking names, playing favorites? No. We have created Tatteno Kampam Susam Bunjana Evatma Kritam. Evatma Kritam means I have created my own life by my previous life's activities. We have to accept responsibility. We have to surrender. And that is not an easy thing, to surrender to Krishna in every circumstance. When things are going our way, when health is there, when prosperity is there, when nice family relationships are there, relationships with other devotees, then, oh, life is good. I love my life. Thank you, Krishna. But when some disaster comes, can we say, thank you, Krishna? Kunti Maharani did. She said, Vipada Santuta Shastrat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsad Apuna Bhavadarshanam. In the previous verse, all the different tribulations that came to Kunti Maharani, her family are described. Poison cake, they tried to murder Bhima. The Kauravas we made a nice summer home for you. Please come. They tried to burn them to death. They stole their kingdom. They insulted Draupadi. So she's praying, let all of these things come again and again. Can we pray like that? Can we say, Krishna, please give me trouble? Can we say that from the bottom of our heart? But Kunti's mentality is that when I see trouble in my life, when I see some challenge in my life, I surrender to that challenge because I see you. I see you, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. That he is supreme controller, Ishvara Parama. He's the supreme controller every aspect of my life. He's controlling that. He's giving it to me. He's giving me the fruit of my own previous pap and previous punya. Karma phal datta. He's giving us the fruit of our own activities. So can we surrender to Krishna? Can we surrender to that in tribulation, as Kunti Maharani is saying? She's saying, when I see these troubles in my life, I see you. And when I see you, apunar bhavadarshanam, I don't see repeated birth and death ever again. This is the mentality of devotee that we have to come to. And this is the mentality of this great Mataji, such a strong devotee, such trouble in her life, still never deviating in her faith from Guru Gauranga. They're also worshipping beautiful deities of Gaur-Nitai. So we're born with our karma. Bhagavatam says, karma na daiva na trena jantra deho papattaye stripa vishta udaran pungsareta kanashraya. That from the moment of conception, that the soul, and this is an extraordinary thing, this was perfectly understood by the knowers of Veda. They had no microscope. They had no electron microscope. Did they have a way of understanding what is the particle of male semina? Pungsa reta means that the pungsa, the soul, takes shelter reta in the particle of male semina and is injected into the womb of a mother, and life begins from that. Why? Karmana daivanatrena. Daivanatrena means under the jurisdiction of the devatas, who are working under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's controlling. He's giving us the fruit of our activities, which is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Purusha prakriti stohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sadasad joni janmasu. That Purusha prakriti stohi means the Purusha, The soul, you and me, we're stuck. Prakriti stohi. We're stuck in Prakriti, in the material world. Bhumera panalo vayu kamano buddharevacha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect, ego. We've been covered by the 8 separated material energies of the Lord. We've forgotten our spiritual identity. We don't know who we are. We're stuck here. And because of that, we associate with different modes of material nature. Bhungte prakriti jan gunan. Bhungte prakriti means we want to enjoy matter. We want to enjoy Maya. And because of the character of how we want to enjoy it, Purusha prakriti, Bhungte prakriti jan karanam guna sangasya. And because of that, a desire to enjoy matter in a particular way, sadasat joni janmasu. We get sad joni or asad joni. Someone is born as a crow, as a donkey, as a frog, as a pig. Someone is born as a devata. Someone is born as a brahmana. Someone goes back to Godhead. By our association with the modes of material nature. Therefore, in spiritual life, it's essential to rise above the influence of the modes of material nature. And one of the main stumbling blocks in our progress in spiritual life is to give up envy, to be happy in someone else's happiness. This should be the hallmark of our communities. That if someone has a child, we should be joyful for their happiness. If someone has a promotion, we should be joyful. If someone buys a new house or a wedding or some happy occasion comes, we should be joyful in their joy and congratulate them and be happy from the bottom of our heart. No envy. And if there's some unhappy thing, if there's a death, an accident, some disease, some poverty that comes, some unhappy thing that comes to a member of our Vaishnava communities, we should feel profound sorrow. And we should be there to help that devotee or that devotee family. And if we live that, this is our philosophy. If we live that philosophy, people will line up at our door to join our ISKCON communities. Because this is a natural characteristic of a pure devotee. He's happy in another's happiness, no envy. And he's unhappy in another person's distress. Paradukka dukki. This is a Kripambud here. He's full of kripa, he's full of mercy, he's an ocean of mercy. And the unhappiness of another person. And that will come to everyone in due course of time. Especially in my life. Now, I become an old man. All my godbrothers are dying. On Prabhupada's disappearance day, a very dear godbrother left this world, Charodeshna Prabhu. He was the first devotee to ever distribute, to reach the 200 book distribution mark. In one day, he distributed 200 books in Atlanta airport. Empowered book distributor, joyful, always smile on his face, beautiful kirtan leader, enthusiastic devotee, family man. Gone. Gone. Material nature is like a bulldozer. He was such a vibrant, healthy young man. Now he's lying in bed, emaciated like a skeleton, lying in bed. Bulldozer, modes of material nature, runs over us, destroys. Kalosmi Bharatashabha. Krishna says, I am time. We can't hold on to anything in this material world. So we get what we're destined to get. Prabhupada writes here in the purport, Chitraketu was not destined to get a child by providence or the will of the Supreme. Everything is the will of the Supreme. We should learn this principle of surrendering to the will of the Supreme. And how to do that? We should understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should have that idea firmly fixed in our heart, not just in our mind, intellectual understanding. Okay, I read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, I am God, I'm creating everything. Matak paratanam nanya kinchidasti dhananjaya, everything rests upon me as pearls. I'm the same. Many places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm God. But we should have feeling for that person. We should have feeling for God. And for this, we take advantage of this month of Kartik Mas, and sing this beautiful Damodarashtakam prayer. Because this prayer in itself attracts the attention and mercy, kripa, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How powerful is that prayer? A song, a sound vibration, heartfelt sound vibration that attracts mercy of God, who is unavailable, who is beyond our conception, who is unavailable to the non-devotee, beyond our conception, who is achintya, inconceivable, adhoksaja, who is beyond the conception of our material senses. How to attract that person? Inconceivable, by this song, by singing this Damodarashtakam. This song attracts the mercy of Krishna. And if we sing this song in a mood of understanding, in the mood of contemplation, in the mood of meditating on the meaning, where our heart will melt in love for this person, Krishna, who is becomes the son of Mother Yashoda. This is inconceivable. God has no mother. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhu, everything comes from me. I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm the source of everything. Everything rests upon me. The universe has come from a plenary portion of my Yakaranarnava jale bhajati sma yoga nidyamananta jagananda saroma kupa adara shakti avalambya param samurtim govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Millions of universes are coming from the body of Mahavishnu, who's a plenary portion of Krishna. And what's Krishna doing? He's in the arms of his mother. He has no mother. But because someone has Vatsalya Prem, because they want to love Krishna in a particular way, Krishna says, yes, I will become your son. And you can hold me. Idam te mukam bojam atyanta nilay vritam kuntalai snigdha bhaktaista idam te mukam bojam atyanta nilay. What's that? Let me start over. Idam te mukam bojam atyanta nilay vritam kuntalai snigdha raktaista gopya muhushchambitam bimba raktadaram me manasya virastamalam lakshalabhai. Bring our mind to this vision that Krishna is in the arms of Mother Yashoda. His beautiful amboja, lotus-like face, is encircled by locks of curling, dark, lustrous hair. And his cheeks have become reddened by the kisses of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda is kissing the face of God. He's become subordinate to his mother. He's sucking her breast. She's kissing his face. She's playing with him. This is the potentiality of bhakti. And this beautiful song describes Krishna in terms of Leela as the son of Mother Yashoda, Yashoda Nandan, Yashomati Nandana Brajabarunagara Gokula Ranjana Kana, the beloved of all the Brajvasis, Kana, who call him by nickname, becomes the son of Mother Yashoda, the beloved son of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj said, they say that Krishna is God. I don't care. He is my son. He is my son. He is my son. This is the Braja Prem of the Brajvasis that love Krishna, simply love Krishna. They don't care. Lord Vishnu, expansions and creation and maintenance, control of the universe, they don't care. They simply love Krishna. Like when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. He's holding the hill on the little finger of his left hand. And he's standing there for 1 week. And no one, Krishna is not hungry and thirsty. The Brajvasis is not hungry and thirsty. They're simply absorbed, looking at the beautiful face of Krishna. But Mother Yashoda thinks, Krishna, you've been holding that mountain on your hand for so long. Maybe you should change hands. Change to your right hand. And the cowherd men they want to help Krishna. They're taking their sticks and they want to hold their stick to give Krishna a hand. They can't conceive that this 7-year-old boy is holding a mountain. They simply think he's our Lala. He's our beloved Krishna. This is how we come to surrender to the will of the Lord. to understand the beauty and compassion and loving nature of Krishna, how he sells himself to his devotee. Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains in the Leela of Advaita Acharya, calling Lord Chaitanya to this world. Tala Sevrata, what's that? Anyway, he says that someone who offers me simply tulsi leaf and a palm full of water, I have no capacity to reciprocate such an offering. Therefore, I give myself. Krishna is controlled by bhakti. Krishna sells himself. You want to love me as a mother? I'll become your mother. I'll become your son. You want to love me as a friend? I'll become your friend, the best friend, most jovial, happy, joking friend, playful friend that'll never leave you. You want to love me as a lover? I'll become your lover. I'll embrace you face to face, chest to chest. I'll embrace you. I'll love you like no one has ever loved you before. This is the process of surrender. Not just keeping Krishna as some philosophical concept, but understanding that this person is the Supreme Personality of God. And this is why this prayer starts out. Satyavrata Muni starts out. Namam Ishwaram Satchidananda Rupam Latsat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyolukaladavamanam Param Vishtamathyantato Drutya Gopya. He begins whole prayer. He's defining who is this boy? Who is he? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namam Ishwaram. Says, I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Controller. Who Satchidananda Rupam. That his roop, his form, is not like our form. It's not bones and blood and skin and fat and hair. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what is he doing? Lasat Kundalam. His ears are decorated with beautiful kundala, earrings. Gokule Brajamanam. He's splendorous in the realm of Gokula. Yashoda Biyolukala Davamanam. He's running very quickly, Davamanam. But Mother Yashoda is quicker than that. She's grabbing him and tying him to a mortar. She chased him with a stick in her hand. And Krishna became very fearful. Rudanta muhur netra jugmam brijantam karam boja jugme nasatanka netram. That Krishna, he's rubbing his eyes with the back of his hands like you see little babies do, just like a child will rub. And Kajal mascara is coming down his face. His breathing is quick. He's breathing heavily. His pearl necklace is shaking. And he's feeling fearful. Mother Yashoda sees Krishna's very fearful. She throws away the stick. Bhagavatam says, Apana sansiting goram yannama vivisogganan tatatsadyo vimuchete mucheta yad babeti swayam bhayam. That fear personified is afraid of Krishna. The wind blows out of fear of Krishna. The sun and moon rise out of fear of Krishna. But Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda's stick. So when Mother Yashoda sees that Krishna has become fearful, seeing the stick, she throws the stick away. But she's thinking, this child is so mischievous. He's so unsteady. He's so fickle. He's just running here and there. Let me bind him to the grinding mortar so that he doesn't create any further mischief. So she goes to find rope. She gathers all the rope at her disposal. She ties Krishna to the grinding mortar, and it's still 2 inches too short. How is Krishna bound? He can only be bound by bhakti. Only by bhakti. Itik dik salila birananda kunde vitam kuntalai idam temukam boy. Iti jaksalila birananda kunde swagosham nimajantam akyapayantam. Tadiyeshita geshu bhaktarjitatam puna prematastam shatavriti vande. That bhakti badham, that he's bound by bhakti. How can you bind Krishna? He has no inside, no outside, no top, no bottom, no front, no back, no beginning, no end. The whole universe is within his own belly. How can you bind him? Only with bhakti. So this verse is saying, Iti driksha lilabhir ananda kunde. Swagosham. Swagosham means the residents of Vrindavan, the Brajbasis. They're drowning in an ananda kunde, in an ocean of spiritual happiness, of ananda, of prema, of love of Krishna. But Satyavrati Muni is saying, Shatavrati Vande, I offer my obeisances to you hundreds of times. So on one side we see someone is worshipping Krishna with Vaidhi, with rules and regulations, with it from a distance, seeing him here as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serving him from a distance, with all respect, offering obeisances hundreds of times, and someone else is binding him with a rope, tying him up. So when she gets to try and tie him, the rope is too short by 2 inches. She can't tie the knot to complete the process of binding him to the mortar. So she gets some more rope. Other gopis bring more rope to bind him, and still she cannot bind him. Because Krishna cannot be bound by any material process. He can only be bound by bhakti. What kind of rope can bind Krishna? Nothing can bind Krishna unless he agrees to be bound. So what do these 2 inches represent? One represents prayas. The one has to work hard. How did Mother Yashoda even catch Krishna? Mother Yashoda is described in Shastra as having heavy body, very heavy body. And she's running after Krishna, who's running very quickly. And she's laboring, she's sweating. Her hair is falling down. The flowers from her hair are falling on the ground. And she's struggling. She's working hard to catch Krishna. Prayas. But Krishna can't be bound by prayas, by our endeavor. Krishna can only be bound by our bhakti, by his kripa. He has to agree to be bound. Krishna can only be bound. He's only available. He can only be captured. He can only be achieved when he agrees to be achieved. Everything is by his kripa. But that doesn't mean we should think, I'll become pure devotee when Krishna agrees that I can become pure devotee. I don't need to work. Or on the other hand, someone may think, I'll just work hard and Krishna must give me his mercy. Krishna's not obliged, and we have to work hard. Both things are there. Kripa and prayas. We have to work hard, not be lazy in devotional life. Every day completing our japa, every day reading, every day serving, every day remembering, all the different activities that we're engaged in every day, without deviation. This is prayas, our side of the bargain. And by that, in due course of time, devotee should feel, Krishna will certainly give me his mercy, but it's up to him. Krishna is the transcendental autocrat. He can give, or he may not give. But he will give, but according to his will. And therefore we have to be patient. But Rupa Goswami advises us, Utsahan nischayat gardaryat tatat karma pavartanat. That you be enthusiastic, be confident. Yes, Krishna will give me mercy. But daryat, we have to be patient. Because to get the highest thing, the highest blessing in life, isn't an easy thing. It's the easiest process. But the application is difficult. We do what? You get up in the morning, you take bath, you chant Krishna's name, you sit, and you recite the name, and you hear his name. What can be easier than that? But the application is difficult, because we have to bring our mind to Krishna. This is the challenge of japa. To bring our mind to Krishna. Yato yato nistalati manas chanchalamastheram tatastato nayam yaitat atmaneva vashamnayat. Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, that whatever and wherever your mind drifts due to its unsteady and flickering nature, one is to drag it back under the control of the self. Astiram. The mind doesn't like to focus on one thing. Chanchalam. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadidham tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sadushkaram. Arjuna told Krishna, my mind is very powerful, obstinate, difficult to control, more difficult to control than the wind. How will I think of you? This is the struggle of japa. Again, prayas and kripa. We have to do our part, try to bring our mind over and over again. The mind goes off to the left field, goes off to the right field, goes up, it goes down, goes backwards and forwards, here and there. Astiram. It doesn't like to focus on one thing. But by bringing it back to Krishna over and over again, gradually, by purification of consciousness, purification of heart, the mind and heart automatically gravitate to thoughts of Krishna. And this is japa. When we hear Krishna's name and remember the beautiful form of Krishna, or his pastimes, his mercy, his power, his beauty, his temple, his devotees, his books, his prasadam, his deity, all things Krishna, when we chant japa, then we get a taste for japa. Sometimes devotees say, well, I've been chanting japa for 10 years or 20 years, 30 years, I'm not getting a taste. Why do we don't get a taste? Because our mouth is going Krishna, Krishna, our mind is thousands of miles away. This is offensive because Krishna is present and we're ignoring him. What would you do? We're all sitting in our homes. What would you do if Mr. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, stepped into your room? Would you say, hey, Narendra, how's it going, man? No, we'd stand up, we'd fold our hands, offer respect to him. Such a powerful man, famous man, well-known person, pious man. Would we ignore him? But we ignore Krishna every day in certain phases of our morning sadhana, when we're chanting Krishna's name, because our mind drifts off to business, to family, to circumstances, to visa bill, to relationships, to work. It drifts off to so many thousands of different things our mind thinks about. Why don't we think of Krishna? Because our mind is not purified. So what to do? Nama aparada yuktanam namanyeva harantigam vishranti prayuktani tanyavarti karani cha. That we make offenses in chanting. Nama aparada yuktanam. We make offenses in chanting. But what is the remedy for offensive chanting? The only remedy is chanting. Gumauskalita padanam bhumireva balambanam tvai jata paradhanam tameva sharanam prabhu. This verse means that if we're walking on the ground and we trip and stumble on the ground, what shelter do you have but the ground? If you want to walk, you have to get up and walk on the ground, even though you tripped on the ground. So this verse means, even though I make offenses to the Lord, day and night, nama parada yuktanam namanyam dharantu avishranti prayuktani. We make offenses to the Lord day and night, but we have no other shelter but the Lord. If you want to walk, there's no other way to walk except walking on the ground. You tripped on the ground. We make offenses to the Lord. We trip, we fall, but there's no other shelter but the Lord. So we continue to chant Krishna's name, even though we chant offensively, inattentively. And we pray for a better day when our heart melts in some feeling for Krishna. So how to get that feeling? We have to hear. We have to hear about Krishna. Therefore, in this Damodar Mas, this beautiful month of Kartik, where bhakti is so easily available, it's like an on-sale special deal. For example, if you're thinking, I want to buy this really fancy computer, man, it's gonna cost $3,000. But if you say that same computer on sale for $750, would you buy one? You'd buy two. So during Kartik, a crude example, but during Kartik, that which is ordinarily unavailable to us by a regular sadhana becomes available during Kartik Mas by the mercy of Srimati Radharani. This is the Kartik Mas is also called Urja Vrata, and Srimati Radharani is Urjeshwari, the worshipable deity of Kartik Mas, who's giving us mercy to worship her Sham, because we're worshippers of Radharani's Sham Sundar. So Kartik Mas means we get mercy from Srimati Radharani. There's a nice story. There was a mouse who lived in a mandir, and his habit was to eat the ghee that was left from the diya. So one day he's feeling very hungry, and he begins to eat the ghee from a burning diya. And as he's eating, the cotton gets stuck in his teeth. They have these teeth like this. The cotton gets stuck. And as the diya burns closer and closer to his mouth, he's feeling the heat, he's suffering, and he's jumping like this in pain before the Lord. Jumping, jumping, jumping. The mouse died. And in his next life, he took birth in the family of Brahmins. And in that life, he went back to Godhead. Why? Because the Lord thought, oh, he's offering me diya. He's jumping like this. He's offering me this. He's offering me arati. Krishna is so kind. He's so generous. He's so understanding. He's so available by this process of bhakti. For the price of a piece of cotton and a few drops of ghee, we get bhakti. So during Kartik Mas, we should take advantage of singing this beautiful Damodarashtakam, offering diya at least once a day, preferably in morning and evening, according to your availability of time and schedule, but at least once a day. Offer diya, sing this beautiful Damodarashtaka prayer, and meditate on the meaning. And this will attract the attention of the all-merciful Lord, the Supreme Controller, who makes all things possible in our life, who can make a sterile woman an impotent man, mother and father. Surrender to his will in happiness or in distress, in poverty or in wealth, in disease or in health, in fame, in infamy. Interest in simply pleasing Krishna, our internal life. Internal life means what's going on in our heart, where we cultivate a beautiful temple of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, Mama Mana Mandire Raha Nishidin. He's saying that I'm worshiping you. Arati, prema pradite, prema pradipe arati tomar. That in the temple of my heart, I'm offering you a lamp of my love. Such a beautiful analogy. Beautiful poetic analogy. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In the temple of my heart, I'm offering you the lamp of my love. Bhakti is 99% internal. Doesn't have very much to do with where you sleep at night, how you maintain yourself, provided, of course, that it's at least pious. What clothes you wear, your gender, your age, your social background, your economic standing, none of these things matter. What is the character of your heart? And that character comes out. That character, that feeling for Krishna is revealed. It's nourished by this process of hearing about him and praying to him and observing these simple vratas, this Damodar Vrata, Urja Vrata, and trying to be the best devotee we can be and make progress in life and understand we're approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller. And we've locked ourselves into a particular lifestyle by our karma. And whatever that is, we accept because it's given to us by the Supreme Lord. And be happy in happiness and distress, fame and infamy, heat and cold, matra sparshasta kuntaya sitoshna sukadukada, agama paino nitastam stitiksha subharata. Tolerate the dualities of this material world because they have nothing to do with ourself, with the Atman. So we've come to the end of this time period. Does anyone have any question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. all goes to Sri Prabhupada. That's such a nice class reflecting on how the Lord reciprocates with his devotees, and Lord wants this reciprocation of love in the various rasas. It's so very nice and nectarian to reflect on that and get Krishna prema. Yeah, I was thinking that as you were saying about the Gyanis, about the Bhaktas. So sometimes it so happens that generally the Gyanis they get preference, but yeah, as you are saying, 99% of bhakti is internal, so it is not revealed. So the real bhaktas sometimes they do not get prominent, not that they want, but yeah. So I understand that all that. So a real bhakta would be considered to have already gotten the highest jnana possible, isn't it, Prabhu? So it's like
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, Bhunam Janmanam Jnanam Mahaprabhu. So the sense of the mood of surrender itself proves that he has gone through Bahunam Janmanam Jnanavan. So that means he would have gotten all the things rolled into that simple surrender to the Lord. So that faith is strong, his surrender is unshakable, and his bhakti is, of course, brings him ever close to Krishna. Yeah, so nice. And then
And we have to accept, to get bhakti, we have to understand, to accept whatever Krishna gives us. And not make a business relationship with Krishna. I'm your devotee if. No, I'm all your devotee. Unconditionally, I'm your servant. We pray like this. That I'm your unconditional servant.
Yeah. Yeah. So there may be some simpleton devotee, but he or she might have in his past life, his or her past life, might have gone through all this process, or even through simple bhakti, Krishna would have given him the import of all the scripture, all the shastras. That is yeah.
Just like Chitraketu. If Chitraketu had said, okay, this is my lot in life, I'm not destined to have a son, he would have saved so much trouble, right?
Yeah.
We would have saved such trouble. But he wanted to get something that he wasn't destined to have, and he couldn't get it. Even though Angira Rishi gave him a son, he couldn't get a son. The son came and the son left because he wasn't destined to have a son. So we can't contradict the laws of nature. We can't contradict destiny. So we should be happy with our lot in life. I mean, from one point of view, happy with our lot in life. From another point of view, never happy. We should try and be better devotees. Not like, oh, I'm just a rascal, I'll remain a rascal. We should try and be the best devotee we can be. Beg for mercy from the Lord. But materially, from the material perspective, we have a different, we have a life that's chalked out for us. In terms of wealth and family and position in society and prosperity, all of those things are chalked out for us. So we accept with folded hands. Prabhupada's father used to say, God has 10 hands. If he wants to give you with his 10 hands, how much can you accept with your 2 hands? And if he wants to take away from you with his 10 hands, how much can you hold on to? So what is the solution? We take our 2 hands and we fold them like this. My Lord, I'm your servant. Whatever you give me, I'm happy. Whatever you take away, I'm happy. If you're happy, I'm happy. This is bhakti. No condition. Prahlad Maharaj said, don't be vanik. Don't make a business arrangement. Don't be a baniya with Krishna. We serve Krishna because he's Krishna with no expectation of any reward or result. You take everything away or you give me anything as you like. I'm your servant. Radha Krishna Pranamor Jugala Kishore Jivana Marani Gati Ar Nahi More. Narottam Das Thakur said. In life or in death, there's nothing more than Radha Krishna. service to Radha Krishna.
Yes. So one question, Prabhu, in related to the fate aspect, whatever we are destined to. So supposing the question is from the karmis is sometimes if I work, so I mean if you work hard, you will get a result. So it so appears that in life also somebody has studied well, he gets to a better position. So that one-to-one relationship is there. So their question sometimes is how does your destiny come in? Somebody studying hard, he gets generally he gets a better position than the one who has not. I mean,
This is a big discussion, but briefly, in the purport to Brahma Samhita, in this verse, Yastranda Gopa Matavanda Maho Swakarma Bandha Nurupa Phalava Janamata Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes that the Lord inspires us within our heart to act in such a way to fulfill our own destiny. I'll give you an example. I used to do prison preaching, jail preaching. There's a man in jail. He'll die in jail. He's a bank robber. He robbed a bank. He got a 15-year sentence. He finished his sentence, got out on the street, and he robbed another bank. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. That is his destiny, to live and die in jail. So how is that fulfilled? He's walking by the bank, and he thinks there's money in there. Let me go get some. He has inspiration within his heart. Let me go get some money. He walks in. He wrote a note. I have a gun. Give me all the money. So they gave him the money. He walks at the door locks behind him. The door locks in front of him, and he's trapped. They call the police, come get him. So the inspiration came within his heart. I'm going to steal money to fulfill his destiny that I will live and die in jail. So another person has inspiration within his heart to invest in a particular way in the stock market, and he makes millions of dollars. Another person invests in a particular way and he loses millions of dollars, both to fulfill his own destiny. Inspiration comes from Lord in the heart. So destiny is like that. You can't escape the laws of nature. Prarabdha karma. If you're destined, you can't. Just for example, if a man is born with a crippled hand, deformed hand, can he go to the mandir and hire the priest? Okay, you do yajna. We're going to distribute food. We're going to distribute money. You worship the Lord, Satyanarayan Kata, blah, 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 blah. Will he get his hand back? He will not. That's his destiny. He's stuck with that. The rest is prarabdha karma. He's stuck with that. And he's created that from his last life.
so in a way, the inspiration to work towards accomplishment of the prarabdha karma is also rolled into the karma itself.
Yes, just like you give the example of a person studying. Someone has inspiration, again, inspiration to work hard, to study, and he has the facility, has the nature to work hard and study, and he goes high in life.
Yeah.
Another person is lazy, like I'm going to go party. His inspiration is to go drink and party with the girls. And he will not go high in life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is by inspiration. What kind of body we got, what kind of mind we got, what kind of opportunities come to us, everything is destined. But a person, prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha, ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Vimudha, particularly foolish person thinks kartaham, I am doing everything. When in actually prakriti is doing everything. And prakriti, we understand, maya prakriti, that maya dakshena prakriti. Prakriti is controlled by Krishna, not by us.
So the body, paraphernalia, environment, everything is a result of the guna, and everything. The guna is also part
We've
of
created it. Karanam guna sangasya sarasajoni janmasu. By our association with the gunas, we get a particular kind of body.
Yeah.
We get a particular prosperity, health, wealth,
Facility.
type of body. Some people have very athletic bodies. Some people have just obese body. Some people have skinny body, tall body, short, scat, skinny. We get everything by our association with the modes of material nature. Therefore, devotee is careful to avoid sinful life because he knows this will have a negative effect, not only in my present life, but also in my future life. So we avoid sinful life for this reason. One of the reasons. Of course, the main reason is that it's an obstacle in our relationship with the Lord.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for your nectarian words and such wonderful class.
No,
And
they're
so,
Prabhupada's, not my words. They're Prabhupada's words, Shastra's words. I'm just trying to repeat the best I can. But my brain has become a little feeble with my advancing age.
still, you have such a wonderful collection of verses in your mind, and you connect them every so often in so many ways so it's wonderful to hear your classes, Prabhu.
Actually, Prabhu, the truth is, compared to what that can be known, what is to be known, I don't know anything. Even what was it? Albert Einstein, complete genius personality. He said, "I'm just collecting pieces of grains of sand from the beach of knowledge." So my command of Shastra is something like that: grains of sand from the ocean of Shastric knowledge that is available to us. Jiva Goswami, Satsandarbha, Bhagavatam, Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Upanishads, Goswami Granths. There's so much knowledge at our fingertips. How much can we assimilate? So we can hope just to understand at least ABC and try and attract some mercy in our life.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the kind association, purifying association. Hare Krishna.
Any other thing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. This is Shamarasika Devidasi. Such a wonderful class, Prabhuji. You explained very nicely about King Chitraketu and his son, and about the Damodar Lila, the last part, the mouse story. I heard it after a long time, but it reminded me
It's,
the importance of the offering ghee lamp to Krishna. Unknowingly, he got the benefit.
it's a nice story. I like that story.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for sharing that.
But I'm like that mouse also. I'm being burned by my attachment to the material world, but I'm jumping, trying to offer something to Krishna.
Oh, that's a very good analysis. And I like it. Thank you.
So thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kopatubhishcha
Yes,
Kripa
Pa-
Sindhubhyo
Patita
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo.
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। निरंतर श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्णा। हिज ग्रेस
Hare
सर्वद्रिक प्रभु जी की जय।
Gaur
थैंक यू
Bhakta
सो मच
Vrinda ki
प्रभु जी।
jai.
हरे कृष्णा।
Samagata Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
कधी स्टॉप